Welcome to Money on Tap. Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. That's what we do on this show. We look at all sides of the issues, and we bring a fully independent planning perspective to the table.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. My name is Seth Cressman, here with Ben Brayshaw and Dan Mickelin. We are all financial planners with Brayshaw Financial Group, and we love bringing you this show. And today's show is a CYA show, Cover Your Assets, in case you're wondering what that's all about. Yeah, so we get to have some fun with you in financial planning. We talk about three-dimensional investing. We talk about, independent financial planning, which allows us to bring really the universe of investing to you. And it's all about you, making sure that you are the number one person in the room and all these pieces work together for your benefit, your plan, and your path forward to be a successful investor. With that, I just want to thank you for going. I'm thanking you ahead of time because I know you're all going to do this. You're all going to go to the podcast venue, wherever you want, iHeart, Spotify. We're out there, Money on Tap. Thank you for subscribing. And a little something extra for you if you go ahead and drop us a whatever star review, and you say something about the podcast, get a hold of us at info@yourmoneyontap or 855-226-8551. And let us know where we can send you some Money on Tap gear, all part of the fun and the adventure here at Money on Tap. And we just, we just appreciate you. That's one of the ways that we get to give back here. And that's what it's all about. You are about to hear more. Seriously, you're going to hear some really, really good stuff today that you're going to want to take forward with you, whether or not it applies to you now. It's one of these shows that you want to put into your catalog so that you have it available, because there's going to be something here that you're just like, oh my gosh, I have not done that. And yes, we need to have that conversation and take some action here. And whether it's with us here at Money on Tap or Brayshaw Financial Group, we're glad. We're glad we get to help you out. And a lot of the time when we have people call us up from the show, it's not a full-fledged financial planning session, right? A lot of the time we're just sitting down and just answering some questions and getting you on your way. But I'll tell you what, it'll put years back on your life. That's the cool thing about just picking up the phone and giving us a call and asking the question that you've got, because it just saves you so much time to cut through the red tape, I don't know, and I'm held back from where I need to get today. So anyways, Ben, Dan, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. This is a good show. I'm excited about it, and I think that it's going to be one of those ones that's just got value for everybody. So I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, I think the thing about Seth, you talk about you love everybody who listens. I love everybody who listens, likes, and actually gives some feedback on the show, because it helps other people realize, hey, I should listen to this show. This really brought value for somebody else, and I think that's really something that's missed quite a bit. And I think, please, go out, talk about, our show, let other people know about it, tell them about the shows to listen to. Cover Your Assets today is going to be a show that people are going to reference for a very, very long time, and I think that's important. I have a lot of people, and I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of people that, stop me in conversation at a gathering or a graduation or just out to coffee or something, and they ask me questions, and they say, oh, yeah, I got to sit down with you. I don't, whatever works for you. It never phases me that people say that, because I know it's a priority for people that never really pull the trigger. But today's show is one of those shows where you're going to hear something and you're going to say, I should sit down with them or with somebody and get these answered. And this is one of those things where I would say, don't let it sit. Don't let it wait. When you say you're going to sit down with somebody on one of these topics, it's not something that you should delay. And I would just leave you with that.
All right, and with that, it is time for Money in the News.
Coming to us today from USA Today, Jessica Gein. Is Uber-style surge pricing coming to fast food? Wendy's latest move offers a clue. Now, this is one of those that, as soon as I saw it, I was like, this cannot possibly be true. But lo and behold, in this day of AI and ultra fast technology, it is, unfortunately. But Wendy's is going to begin offering menu pricing, based upon the time of day and anticipated volume of certain products moving, meaning that, at lunch and dinner hour, you're going to pay more for your burger or whatever it is you get. Spicy chicken is my favorite, but whatever it is you pick up at Wendy's is going to cost you more during these peak hours, which I just think is, just not something I expected to see in fast food. I really just thought that was just one of those simple pleasures in life that you try and keep it cheap, quick, simple, very, very easy to get in and out of. But, surge pricing is coming, similar to the Uber model. And there's been other versions of this implemented in the retail world, some of which in reading the article I didn't realize it was the case. But this was a shocker, and I don't know if you guys picked up on this one, but I guess Coca-Cola around the early 2000s built a feature into their vending machines where as the temperature went up outside, so did the price of a can of Coke, which obviously was not met very well by the public and, caused a little bit of an outrage there. So they did away with that pretty quickly. But, this kind of condition-driven pricing is something that it just feels like it's a reality and it's part of the future of retail.
Supply and demand is nothing new, right? It's a very bizarre. Like as I was reading through this, I was like, well, I guess I don't mind paying them a little extra on a holiday because they're having to compensate their employees at time and a half or double time and a half. I've never heard that concept run through, but apparently, the surge in business. I'm just trying to think of like what happens in a Las Vegas arena or area when they the Super Bowl converged. Did everybody double their prices? I know like Uber did. Like I was hearing about that. Like it was twice as much to Uber as it was to Lyft. And I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe that's why their stock's doing so well. But I don't know. I mean, we would have a fit if it was something essential like gas, which they've tried to do in the past and gotten slapped in the process. Like, how is this okay? How does this make, what's the difference here? Somebody needs to explain, like sit me down and say, Seth, it's going to be okay, first of all.
Hey, listen, I don't have any I have no problem with Wendy's doing this. I actually think McDonald's is, they should have a $1 menu or the $2 menu or whatever, the $3 menu. They should have it between $1.30 and $4.30. That's what you use to attract people to come in early.
So off-peak pricing is what you're saying? Like if it's between these hours, you get a discount?
I mean, when you go to a restaurant for lunch, Seth, I mean, they don't charge you the dinner cost of, of the same meal that you could get at dinner.
First of all, I don't go to a restaurant for lunch. I go to my refrigerator, pull out some top ramen.
They have a lunch menu, and that's what it costs. It costs less. I actually think if you were to just change the same burger to a different price between $4.30 and $5, you're going to get some feedback. But if you create a separate menu that's only available like a happy hour menu at, one of these bars that are out there, they have these things to bring and entice people in during off hours or off peak. Like, I don't know if you guys have this problem, but I go to Wendy's, or if I've ever gone to Wendy's, it's like a 45-minute wait for a hamburger. I mean, it's always a line. It's the slowest service. I mean, so I don't even go to Wendy's at this point anymore. I do like their burgers, but I don't go there. So if it's just too busy, create off-peak prices and on-peak prices. I'm totally fine with that. Or separate menus. I think it should be cheaper. They want to keep the grills running. They want to keep money flowing through in the off season. Why not? I have no problem with it.
Hey, as long as I'm able to go and get gas at 2 a.m. for half price, I'm okay with it. I mean, I just don't want to. I don't want to. You remember when we went to we were in Georgia, I think, and we stopped in to get some lunch, and we were with our friends, and everybody piled into McDonald's, and we looked at how busy they were and the line that was there, and we're like, oh, well, let's go to Burger King. It's next door. And I swear it took us 45 minutes with one or two people in front of us in line to get our meal from Burger King. Meanwhile, everybody goes in and out of McDonald's. And we're like, what just happened? Why is this happening?
Well, I think the point of this article, though, and I do remember that, the point of this article is I think pricing is not going to be fixed at these restaurants anymore. They're all discussing it. Wendy's is really engaging it, and I think it's next up. What we have next, actually, on our Money in the News is Apple scrapping electric car project by Breck Dumas. So this is pretty interesting. Dan, I was shocked when I saw this article and read through it. I was kind of like, wow, 2,000 employees on this, the Project Titan, their electric car, billions of dollars spent, and Apple's just scrapping the whole thing. That's
10 years,
incredible.
10 years spent on it, too. 2,000 employees working for 10 years at this, and they're truly just walking away. That's incredible.
I mean, if you're employee number one, you got to walk out of there feeling a little failure. I mean, like, we didn't get there. But it was an interesting project. I think Apple probably did a wise thing here. This is a big area and of all the companies that could probably engage this, Apple's, from a tech side, probably the most competent. But I just think that it wasn't just an electric car. It was basically going to be AI generated. It was going to be automatic. I mean, it was going to be non-drivers. They were trying to do a taxi program and so forth. And I think they're just too ahead of the time. So are they scrapping it forever? Who knows? But I'm sure that technology is worth something, and there's some value in there somewhere.
Well, I just wonder if there's something other going on behind the scenes, because listening to different people that are, kind of on the forefront of technology, hearing them say, you know what, believe it or not, lithium cars, battery cars are going to become a thing of the past. And it's not necessarily going to be fossil fuel. It's going to be like hydrogen. And that's going to be the next wave of stuff that's coming online. And maybe that's where they're looking at the technology and they're saying, okay, believe it or not, we're going to go ahead and skip on this one and move over into this other direction and capitalize on that. I wouldn't be surprised, is all I'm saying, if there was something else in line because, well, guess what? They have shown us time and time again that they're ahead of the curve, not a follower and in these business lines.
What I thought was pertinent about it when I first read it is that I just thought it was kind of emblematic of this shift in the market that we've seen, right? So EV was all the rage, and it was the hottest stock, the best investment. Lithium, everything around the EV world was growing together and really registering some great returns. And then there's been this shift to the AI world, and that's what drives the market in the last year or so. And it's in the article, what they literally said about the 2,000 employees is that some of them will be laid off and some of them will be shifted to their AI infrastructure deal. But you're right, Seth. That's just what they're saying publicly. There could be some underlying new development project that's AI and hydrogen based. So they're not moving away entirely from the car, but maybe it's just that rechargeable lithium battery model that they're shelving for now.
So, hey, guys, did you know that Gen Z is getting married? Yes. It's still love conquers all. It continues to be a generational thing that we don't really have to worry about anymore. I know we were concerned that with this generation that love was a thing of the past. Marriage was nope. It's still popular for people, Gen Z particularly, to get married. Now they've got their own spin on what they're doing. And thank you very much, Priya Kavilians. Yes, thank you. I'll work on that. You can get back to me with the pronunciation. And it's really, really kind of a fascinating article to see what millennials and Gen Zers are doing in terms of their lifestyle trends. Why do we bring this to you at Money on Tap? Well, we do know that we have quite a few conversations around financing these things. What is the difference in one generation to the next, and what's important for them was not so important for us. For instance, no longer are people using written or handwritten invitations. That's kind of going away, which actually really I thought was surprising because, I was just watching some comedy the other day and they were kind of making fun of all of the this generation out there that everything's artisanal and handcrafted and, all of that stuff. I'm surprised that they're not just, employing or making a different bent on a handcrafted invitation for you.
Is it wrong for me to say that we went from, like Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, but where's the Gen Y? Because that would have been a great one, right? I guess when I think about the Gen Z generation, hey, listen, we love you guys. I'm glad you found marriage. It's wonderful. What I will say about this article and the fact that people spend $30,000 to $35,000 on a wedding is absolute robbery. It just doesn't need to be this. I mean, it is an entire industry of its own. I was talking to somebody who spent, I was like almost $40,000 on a wedding. I felt so bad because they didn't have the money, but they felt hostage finding a place that could hold people. And it's like, I mean, it just seems like a massive expense for. It's an important day, and I don't want to minimize that, but it's just massive. And I really try to tell people that the cost of a wedding will be so quickly forgotten after the event that simple is sometimes the nicest weddings I've ever been to. So I usually try to encourage that. But what I will say is that when it comes to weddings, and there's a lot of concern around this, especially with the divorce rate, and there's all of this stuff going on and whatnot. We have a lot of people talk to us about prenuptials and concerns around that and whatnot. There is like a total movement that this article never talks about, which is that people are structuring, because there's so many second weddings, guys, and stuff like that. We deal with that. I was just talking to somebody the other day because the kids are, mom passed away. The kids still think that they should get their inheritance and everything, and that's great. And I just told both of them, I said, get married, put your trust together first, figure out what you're each going to give each other upon passing and what you're going to do for the kids. Do it now. Figure out what your both expectations are. Figure out where those, crossroads that seem impassable at times are, and how you take care of each other, and just write it out, because this whole speculation of, oh, well, my kids are going to take care of you and do this, or this is going to happen. Trust me, your wife doesn't want to worry about your children taking care of her. Like, that's not where they want to be in life. That's not a feeling of security. And so there's a lot of these pieces out there. So if there's anything in the marriage space you want to talk about, guys, I've talked about, I think, almost every version of a marriage scenario, it seems like, with people, and there's a lot ins and outs, but they can all be dealt with, and they can be dealt with healthy and well. So those are my thoughts on this article. I appreciated it, but I think they could have done a lot better on a couple of these points of what's going on in this generation of marriages.
Yeah, it's an expensive day, and it's a great time, but I can tell from my own experience, I wish I hadn't spent so much, and I think a lot of people walk away from it feeling the same way, particularly when you're paying for your own wedding. But it is heartening and exciting to see that after a dip in 2020 and 2021, that weddings are on the rise, and as we get into spring here, love is in the air. So congratulations, guys.
You know what, guys? I don't know that I've ever told you this, but we were talking about it the other day. We did our wedding for $2,500. $2,500. Now, wow. People were eating off of paper plates and plastic forks, but it was a day to remember. No, they didn't actually use those, but we did it for $2,500, and it was Ben, you were there. Was that a good day?
It was a good wedding. It was good to see you married off. I was happy to have that done. So.
Yeah, I finally moved out of Ben's basement. It was great. You guys, you're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. This is a CYA Cover Your Assets show that we're going to have a lot of fun going through with you guys. Don't go anywhere. Oh, yeah. While we're taking a break, remember to subscribe to Money on Tap on the podcast venues. Thanks a lot for doing that. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for personalized guidance to kickstart your investing journey? Look no further. Brayshaw Financial Group and our planners are here to help. Our team of experts will provide personalized advice tailored to your financial goals. Visit BrayshawFinancial.com today to schedule your free consultation. Brayshaw Financial, investing made easy.
We appreciate you listening to Money on Tap with Ben, Seth, and Dan. You can contact us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. And now, more of this week's program.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We are covering your assets today. This is a show for us that is going to we've got a lot of ground to cover. So we're not going to hold back. You're going to hear it, all of it. And it's going to be big picture for you. We're going to get into some of the details, but for the most part, we're going to get into some big picture for you and put some steps in front of you so that you can make sure that, okay, we've got part one done, and we've taken care of, step 1, 2, and 3, sub A, B, C, whatever's inside of that for you, so that you can really make sure that you're fully covered. And with that, it's it's actually a lot of fun to kind of pull out some of the stories that we're going to be able to share with you in this. So with that, I want to just go ahead and hand it over and get this show on the road.
So the first step in protecting your assets and creating a strategy around that is really just to have that financial plan, right? You need to have a real clear snapshot of where you are today, and just as importantly, where you want to go with this thing. Where does your financial life lead you? What assets do you have in hand, and what do you envision gathering, between your working days, getting into retirement, and then ultimately beyond and getting into estate issues, which we'll tackle again later. But that plan is key, and understanding that the plan evolves over time as life does is very, very important. So when you want to protect your assets, that very, very first step is understanding what assets you have and when you're going to need to access them. When are they going to become, components of your daily living? We like to layer things and create a strategy around, creating different buckets of assets, buckets of potential income sources that you use at different points in time in your financial life. And that has a lot to do with driving the investment decisions that underlie that, right? Where do you put those different buckets? Because things like, suitability and time horizon become particularly important as we fine tune that plan. And really that is something that's, as I mentioned off the top, it's driven by two things. It's driven by, what you have and what your goals are in terms of what you'll ultimately acquire over time.
Yeah, I like that, Dan. And I think there's a lot of pieces around this that, people don't understand the tertiary different angles that you're looking at as you're kind of going through this, what we call the three-dimensional planning process, right? Like there's constantly moving parts. Every day you're like, oh, I should probably get my will, and I heard I should get a trust done, and I feel like I have to get this done, and then I got retirement, and what about estate planning of my kids? And I think, or I have a special needs child, and I need to deal with that, and there's 1,000 different moving parts inside all of this stuff, right? And you don't want to just write a trust for this and do this for that, and sometimes they can be solved together in a bigger picture, in a more clear functioning system that solves all of those different moving parts as time goes on. And I think, what's missing for a lot of people, and it's no knock on anybody specifically, but they go to a financial advisor who, tells them they should buy these stocks and do this. And then they go to an insurance agent and says, you should buy, this insurance. And then they go to an attorney and they say, well, I don't like that insurance, and I think you should have this trust. And by the way, I really think you should redo your will. And have you thought about an irrevocable trust too? Like all of a sudden, no one's working together. No one's quarterbacking, for lack of a better word. And I know, sports analogies are always, shunned in most of the communication things that you read, but nobody's really leading everyone to a cohesive, strong, clear, directed path to get you to the end result you're looking for. And that's really it, because it's what you're looking for, not what other people say you should have. Like people need to evaluate your concerns, figure out what's broken, where your fears are, where your vulnerabilities are, and put a big net underneath that. Solve it. Whether it's an investment net, whether it's a legal net, whether it's an insurance net. Is it a tax problem? Is it a tax net? Are you constantly facing obnoxious taxes? These are all things that planning starts to really engage with you as you're really willing to open up to somebody that you trust and say, this is what I'm concerned about. And a lot of people are not willing to do that, or they just don't want to do it now. Do you guys find it that? That's my interpretation of a lot of people I speak to.
Yeah, I think there's a ton of inertia around that first step, right? It's that first domino to knock over. It's making the phone call. It's booking the appointment. It's, gathering your facts and figures. We like to send out a financial questionnaire before we sit with somebody and have that come back to us, give us an opportunity to review. So, it's a combination of, those documented assets that you already own and the conversation that goes with that in terms of, what are these things for? What's the plan here? So I think, to your point, Ben, the biggest hurdle is making that phone call, going through that exercise of collecting the data. And once people have invested the time into those things and kind of overcome the fear of the ask, then the process kind of snowballs and we're able to really get into it. And, a couple months later, a couple meetings later, people walk away feeling totally secure and just really comforted in the fact that, we have that net, like you said, Ben. The net is holding them up. It's wrapped around their assets and protecting them from all the threats that we face in the financial world.
Yeah, and sorry, Seth. One sec. Yeah, I think that's it's important to understand too that there's no, obviously I know you don't mean there's any sort of guarantee behind that, but I think as we're talking about this, a lot of people can't voice what they're really afraid of. Like they know there's a concern or a fear there. They know there's a vulnerability that they can't language into something or articulate it in a way that somebody can translate it into an investment, tax, legal or insurance strategy, or a mixture of all of those together, which gets much more complex. But what they do walk out saying is, these people understand, I think this is where you're going, these people understand what my needs are. They understand what concerns I have and fears, and this is definitely a better path. This one seems to meet those issues, those concerns, those needs, those wants. I think this is going to get me there. Like, that's the difference I think you get from a true planner, that emotional connection to a concept, to an idea, to something that you probably can't financially articulate to someone else, but that you have, hey, that works for me.
The thing that I sometimes forget is that you have a financial plan. Whether you think you do or you don't, at this moment, there's a financial plan in place for you already, right? The tax code is already there. You're going to go ahead and take income from point A to point B. Tax code gets applied. That's your financial plan. It's done for you. Or you've already been saving into an IRA or a 401k at some point in time. You got to take that money out. Tax code is already there. They've already decided how that's going to happen for you. So if that's your financial plan, that's what you have right now. You've been doing X, Y, Z over here, and it's going to come out on the other side looking like this. And so in this process, the thing that I love that's most empowering is that you actually get to decide. Is that what you want? Okay, that's fine. Fair enough. Did you want something else? You get to declare what it is that you want, right? You get to decide, and you get to have the autonomy or the ability to make a choice for yourself in this process of what those outcomes start to look like, and getting it out there. This is what, it's not just about what you've been doing. It's about, what do you want? How do you want this to look? And then putting that into the plan or a document that allows you to go ahead and see things in front of you. And so that's right. That is a domino. It's how you want the dominoes to fall versus, how they are just going to happen.
I think, Seth, the dominoes never seem to fall the way you want. Remember, like one spins out of control. And I think that really brings me right into the second point that we have today is the unforeseen, the unknown, the thing that you've never planned for seems to always happen. Like your daughter marries the guy you never wanted her to. I'm just teasing everybody, but
what?
a lot sooner than you ever expected. And all of a sudden,
Ben,
you got $40,000, $50,000 bill because she wants the venue of her dreams, and you're like, oh, I was never prepared for that financially. Or you have a car accident, or you have a family illness, or an unsuspected spousal illness. I mean, there's 1,001 emergencies that can happen in your life, and I think the biggest thing about and we've done shows on, emergency funds and so forth. But what's interesting about emergency funds is they play such a great role in wealth preservation because they prevent you from doing something financially harmful when you don't have an emergency fund. Like, it's almost like, hey, this event happened. It's horrible. I don't have an emergency fund. I got to take the money out of my 401k, which is going to hit me with a 10% penalty and income taxes. I'm only going to get half of that money. I need $50,000, and I'm only going to get $25,000. Or I take a loan from it, and then I got to pay that thing back, which means I have to take less income because I didn't prepare for the emergency fund. Or I have to start liquidating stocks, and oh, by the way, the stock market happens to be down right now. Having an emergency fund is incredibly crucial because you're all going to have emergencies. You're all going to have unforeseen expenses, unforeseen concerns, unforeseen family events that you have to come up with money for. And if you have to start liquidating things that you never thought you have to, trust me, it will never be the best time. The market will not be up. You'll turn around and be like, why did the market just drop today and I need money? It's going to happen because we talk to people, and they don't always listen, unfortunately. And our encouragement for you today is, number 2, set up your emergency fund, because it is a crucial first intricate step to protecting everything else.
I got a call this last week, and here's kind of the other side of how this works. Family has had some transitions. COVID really kind of smashed their business plan model. I mean, they were just taking off, and it didn't work. And they've had to adjust, and they've accumulated some debt. And the question that they had was, hey, can we go ahead and use this money over here that's been set aside, and it's basically the emergency fund, and they've used a fair amount of that to try to help them through this period, but they wanted to go ahead and use that to just zero out the debt, versus keeping that in place and continuing to pay on that debt. And what that would have done is if I go back to number 1, which is the financial plan to protect, is going ahead and using that emergency fund to pay out the debt, is that in line with the plan? Is that ultimately going to protect? And the answer is no, because you're completely vulnerable at that point, because you don't go get to recapture that cash that you had set aside. The plan, really, what's in line with the plan is paying off that debt as soon as you can, and stop diverting your savings over into that emergency fund, because you've got that. Start paying off that plan as aggressively, or that debt as aggressively as you can. That is in line with the first principle that we've set up here, your plan. And that's the design that's going to allow you to just stay as safe as possible through the rest of the process and get you towards your goals in retirement.
What a great point, Seth. Really, that's a great story. A lot of people would tell you instantly, just go pay off the debt, get rid of your debt, and so forth. But if you can sustain the cash and pay the debt, or pay a portion of the debt, and slowly, it gives you the liquidity you need to make sure you're not completely 100% vulnerable. Because if you cash out all of your emergency funds to pay off everything you've got, well, great, you have zero debt, but you have nothing. You can just instantly lose your house, and then all of a sudden it's a fire sale, and you're living on the street and you have no money. Because the bank's not concerned about selling your house for a profit. They're concerned about covering the mortgage. I mean, they'll sell a fair, equitable value, but they're not going to hold out for the best buyer. These types of things people don't realize, and a lot of people make poor decisions like this, and they pay off their debt because they listen to somebody who says you need to be debt free, and if you have you need to do this, and they take everybody so literally. But to magnify that, Seth, great advice in that scenario, and for a lot of people, they wouldn't even understand that makes sense, and that's okay. But sometimes keeping debt, but having enough cash on hand to keep flowing through, to bide your time through something or through an event, is so important, because you can't lose your house. But if you have no cash, you have no money, you can't buy food, what do you do?
You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We are in our CYA Cover Your Assets show for you today, and some great examples so far, you guys, really just kind of laying some of the groundwork for people to have here. Yes, if you have questions, you can go ahead and reach out to us at either one of those places, the phone or email. You can also find us at BrayshawFinancial.com or YourMoneyOnTap.com, and subscribe while you're out there on the podcast world, and let us know, because we want to send you some Money on Tap gear when you do that. We appreciate you. We're not going anywhere. We'll be right back with more Money on Tap.
Hey everyone, Dan Mickelon here with Brayshaw Financial. Looking for a hassle-free way to invest? Look no further than Brayshaw Financial Group. With Brayshaw Financial Group, you can start investing with as little as $100, enjoy a user-friendly platform with a diverse range of investment options. Visit Brayshaw Financial Group and start your investment journey today. Brayshaw Financial Group, investing made easy.
And now, here's our Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap.
I think it's interesting that Amazon's their retail, the whole Amazon buying of packages, that's not even their huge profit margin zone. It's actually all AWS and all their server stuff. I mean, that's actually the driving piece of their business, which is incredible to me, because I think of Amazon packages arriving at my house almost daily. it's kind of like, wow, that's pretty incredible that that's like that. And I also think that Amazon has been a player in so many different spaces. I'm also concerned about the largeness of this company. It's almost interwoven through everything. I remember like Parlay or something, one of those social media things where Amazon just shut them down and put the company out of business. And I just thought that that was, abuse of power. A lot of these companies, they just get so big, we just become so dependent on them that we almost give away our freedom.
Thanks for joining us for this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, with great tips from the pros in three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. Now here's more Money on Tap with Ben, Seth, and Dan.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We are doing a CYA show, Cover Your Assets, and great stuff so far. Just talking about, first of all, getting a financial plan in place to protect your family, saving for emergencies or large purposes to protect the family. Just great. That's great design, right? That's great, really great design to help you accomplish the rest of what you're going to want to do in terms of covering your assets. So after that, we want to talk a little bit, not too much time. Now, this is actually just a show in and of itself, just so you know. Any one of these, honestly, we could probably talk into a show with you, which we would love to do, but we got to get to the point with you, right? So there's diversifying your investment portfolio, and there's lots of different ways to do this. There's lots of different assets.
Where do you start, Seth? Where do you start?
I'm like, oh boy, big topic. So diversification. So there's your diversification inside of like the stock market, right? Where you've got what we'd call equities, and then we've got bonds, and those have been pretty much the places that people have said those are the ways that you can diversify. But then is there corporate bonds? Is there government bonds? Is there preferred stocks? Is there ETFs? And what is inside of an ETF? And does any of that have any meaning? Is there a guarantee? Is there all those places to go inside of that question? And that's just the marketplace where you can go, open an account and start buying stuff and selling stuff. What about the rest of it? Because my goodness, there's a bunch of ways that you can invest. If we were to just limit the show to that or the topic to that, we would do you a disservice. And so what are the other places that we really want to try to make sure that people have at least a little bit of a understanding of how diversification could look inside of this plan?
If you are a person listening to the show, which you are, and you're comparing every one of your assets to the S&P 500 and comparing how much they do and don't perform against that, and that's all you are using as a litmus test to find out whether or not you're doing well, or the Dow Jones, you are unfortunately in a really vulnerable place. Because if all of your assets are directly correlated to the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones, and which is the stock market, which is the highest risk place you can put your money, then you are severely vulnerable to a 2008 event. You should have assets that are diversified in a way that some of them are intentionally correlated to a bond market, or things that are intentionally correlated to a cash asset. Like, you should intentionally have things that are correlated separate from the S&P 500. I had a meeting with a client the other day, and I tell you, so it was a 5-year return. He averaged just about 7%. The risk correlated to a bond, and he wasn't happy because it didn't perform like the S&P. I just simply said to him, not everything's in your portfolio is meant to correlate to that. This correlated and beat the correlation for this asset class. And it's complicated to explain that, because a lot of us would say, I'd love to get a 6.8% yield or whatever. Well, wonderful. The stock market was up 90% on the S&P 500 during that same time period, which is way more than 6-7%. So, when you don't understand correlation, and if all of your assets are based on how well you're doing on the S&P, you're going to love me when the market's up and say, I really don't need you because the market's always up, because I hear that all the time. The other thing is like, the market's down and I've lost money, but not as much. Man, I should have had other assets. I should have been more diversified. That's what people will say when you're not correlated properly, and you have to be careful. And a really good planner will push back on you And I'll tell people, be like, listen, if what we're doing for you is not good enough, that's okay. But you need to be careful that you're not looking for returns that put unreasonable risk in your portfolio. And I think that's what diversification is really about, is having an honest conversation about how much should be in each risk category of correlation. And then, Dan, I want to pass it over to you because I know that's your wheelhouse.
Yeah, and there's a different kind of asset class to consider too, where the title of the show is CYA, cover your assets, right? Well, there are insurance companies who are willing to cover your assets for you, right? And there's a cost that comes associated with that, but that's by using something that is an insurance tool, like an annuity, as an example, right? Where the insurance company is willing to take in an asset from you, you make a purchase with them for a set amount, and they will from that day forward guarantee you at some future point some modicum of guaranteed lifetime income going forward, right? So that's an asset that you have just gone ahead and covered, right? You kind of know what the range of possibilities for performance are. There are generally protections in place depending upon the type of annuity, and that's a whole other show that we could go on for hours about. But the meaning of the word annuity is loosely guarantee, right? So there's a promise to pay in the future date based upon that investment you made. So that coverage piece that we're talking about is provided for. And that's generally thought of as the lifetime income stream and some degree of principal protection. But additionally to that, there's other levels of coverage that are available that are generally not well known. But in a lot of states, in some states, your dollars inside of an annuity contract will be protected from creditors, from lawsuits, from bankruptcies, from some of the other things that can happen in a life that are a threat to your wealth, that are a threat to your assets. Having some portion of your money set aside in an annuity, earmarked for income, understanding that it's protected against many of these other risks that are out there, is another tool in the diversification toolbox.
I hate to use O.J. Simpson as a life role model here in the annuity space, but I think he kind of meets that one because, O.J. Simpson's not on the side of the road at, the homeless sign saying, hey, listen, I need money. He's got, his NFL pension, which is an annuity coming to him, and that's, it's hard to understand. But, if you have a state that, you're creditor protected against annuities, this is all about wealth preservation. If that's what brings the right answer for you, you have to be open to it. You have to kind of look at it. And the next conversation is life insurance. Life insurance is creditor protected in most states as well, if not all of them. And the thing about life insurance that's incredible is that you can build up cash inside there and you can take money out of it. We talked about it 1,000 times over. You can take tax-free income out of life insurance. And if you're a doctor or a lawyer today listening to this show, the first place you should be calling is us, because when it comes to creditor protection and creating certain types of trusts around life insurance and so forth, you could actually protect your entire family's wealth or a big chunk of it through a life insurance program that could create opportunity for tax-deferred wealth that's totally creditor protected. And a lot of people don't talk about this stuff. And I can't tell you how many doctors are too busy doing surgery, meeting with patients. They're on call 24 hours a day. Even if they're only on call once in a while, they're always working. And so there are ways to protect you, because we are in a litigious society that is out to get every penny out of everybody, that, you need to have wealth preservation. And depending on what job or role you have, there's different ways to do that. And obviously everything has a cost, right? So like if you're going to do life insurance, it's going to be a cost to that. If you're going to do an annuity, it's going to cost to that. But if the cost is worth it, like if you need a bigger vehicle because you got 5 kids, well, the cost is worth a bigger vehicle because you can't drive your whole family around. So there are costs associated with the type of life you live. If you have a large vulnerability or fly a plane, like your cost of insurance is going to be more than mine. So those are the types of things you have to understand. But the wealth preservation around some of these investment tools have been around for hundreds of years, and people just ignore them, and they just kind of dwindle in the background, and no one talks about them.
I just realized one of the things that you want to really take a look inside of that as well as your property and casualty insurance. And Eric Morton, Sarah Vazani here have just done a phenomenal job at Brayshaw Financial Group of having those conversations to really help people understand, okay, saving a couple of bucks on this plan right here, not a great idea, because you're going to be exposed if these things happen down the road, which a lot of them, they're a very high likelihood of happening. The car accident is just one of them. It could be a pileup with who knows how many cars. There could be, fatalities involved and all those other pieces that I love them to talk about it, because it's not something I I really enjoy having a conversation around, but it's really important. And it's one of those areas that people just need to really have a deeper conversation around most of the time. And, with that, I led off here kind of talking about a couple of heavy items, which were, everything running through tax code. All right. That was just an example of, not doing the estate planning. Eventually there's an estate plan in place for you, or there's a financial plan in place for you, because guess what? There's an eventuality that you're going to pay taxes. Everybody does. Everybody has to. And, with that, we want to talk about being smart to preserve your wealth. There are tax diversified investment portfolios. Tax incentivized investing is what we talk about a lot. There's ways to transfer from one investment into another investment and not have that taxed. Being aware of these is just a part of understanding what your program's all about or what your plan is all about. There's charitable giving strategies where, if that's where your mindset is, there's ways to be charitably minded to help you out, because some of these may not be, some of the strategies that have been typically available are not necessarily what you want to be doing at this point, or not even available for you at this point. So pulling that in, as well as there's Roth conversions. Just the last couple of shows, we talked a lot about Roths and what are the Roth alternatives and how to get assets from one bucket that's taxable on the distribution and paying taxes now, but into a future safe haven for your taxes. And those strategies come into place. And, something I saw actually was some advice given. This is kind of circling back to where Dan was at a minute ago. It was a financial planner offering some advice out there on a Facebook post from a friend of ours that, and I know where he's at, and I understand why he's advising so giving such blanketed advice, but it was, not considering annuities before age 65. And I will say that there's within that advisor's practice, there probably isn't a whole lot of opportunities inside of the annuity world, but there's a whole host of annuities, depending on the structure and the goal, that would be very appropriate for people pre-65. And you would miss the boat entirely on those opportunities if you aren't having the conversations even having the conversation, not an allocation or just, moving into any of those things at age 45 or 50, but at least being prepared for how to start to pull and move and do these different things.
Seth, when you're talking about that, it's like what our listeners don't understand, and I understand that they don't get this, and most of them, the vast majority, don't understand the different sides of financial planning and investment people, and the different corporations, the big names we see all over the place and whatnot. And the bigger the name, the smaller it seems like the offering of investment options are. I don't know about you guys, but you go to some of these bigger names and they just start minimizing the sales list or the investment risk list or, the attorney list of who the people you talk to, all because they want to mitigate as much risk in bad advice from other people. And I think that's one of the things. And regarding the concept too, Seth, so there's just so much, because Brayshaw Financial is the company we own, and it's us, and we can do business among all these different companies. And because we're independents and we can go out to the plethora of options, investment companies. I know you guys joke around, plethora is my word, but it's my word. You can go out all across the marketplace, and we can really give you, hey, this is what we think is the best, where other companies, they can't even consider them, which is crazy. Seth, you talked about the Roth side on the taxes. That's great. And we did a couple of shows on that. But the wealth preservation concept, I would even say, goes to the next degree on the tax side, is in 20 years, you don't want all the wealth you've earned to just be eaten away by the tax rates that are coming. Right? You're trying to preserve your wealth. The Roth conversion might be one way where you're not going to be just completely obliterated financially by the future tax rates over the next 20 to 30 years.
You're listening to Money on Tap. We're going to take a quick break. You can reach us at 855-226-8551, because I know that you've got questions right now that you cannot wait to get some answers for. We're here for you, and we love that interaction with you. Also, please, thank you for subscribing to the podcast Money on Tap. We'll be right back. Hey guys, Seth Cressman with Brayshaw Financial Group. Are you ready to take control of your financial future? Look no further than Brayshaw Financial Group. Our team of experienced advisors is dedicated to helping beginners like you build wealth through smart investing strategies. Visit BrayshawFinancial.com today and start your journey towards financial independence. Brayshaw Financial Group, your partner in wealth creation.
We appreciate you listening to Money on Tap with Ben, Seth, and Dan. You can contact us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. And now, more of this week's program.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. And this is our final little bit on the CYA Cover Your Assets show. And to really bring it home for you inside of this, we want to make sure that you have an estate plan. And that's about really leaving legacy and protecting your family wealth. And I wanted to kind of kick it off here because we do have a lot of, Gen Z and millennials that listen to Money on Tap for different reasons. But sometimes the question comes up is, how important is it for me to have an estate plan at this point? And it is. Everybody, we started the show, you already have an estate plan. It's whether or not you get to choose or the state gets to choose for you. That's your estate plan sometimes. And the things to consider are the will, getting that in place, and the critical components there. You don't want to be burdening your loved ones with burial expenses and having that packed into this. Your medical directives, so that nobody that loves you and cares about you is faced with the decision of how to make the toughest decision in their life or about your life. Also, creating a durable power of attorney for healthcare. Those are just some ABCs. I just want to get that first and foremost on the table for the youngins out there that are getting in touch with us here today. Let's get those things knocked out right away. It's an act of love and service for the people you care about.
One other aspect of that too, Seth, not that every estate plan requires life insurance as an element to it, but often it does. And the younger you are, the healthier you are to engage that, it's just going to save you money over the long haul for sure.
Love saving money. Love saving money. $2,500 wedding right here, buddy.
Hey, listen, estate planning and wealth preservation, it is probably the core item that everyone thinks about when they think about wealth preservation. They think about passing on their assets to their children. And I would say that, with this couple minutes we have left here, that when it comes to estate planning and doing it well, okay, and is really about the transition of your assets in a way that's healthy. The problem is that the estate tax realm is probably the one thing that will be the easiest for Congress to hit first. Now, for those who are old enough to remember when George Bush used to say, make the tax laws permanent, he was talking about the estate tax laws when they were $600,000 going up to $900,000 per person as a federal estate tax exclusion. I'm rounding numbers. Today, it's like $13 million per person. It's crazy. It's just been growing and growing and growing. Well, the thing is, folks, dead people don't vote. And I was just talking to a client the other day who his father had passed away. And he said, it's a gift from dad. Like, we have to pay taxes. We have to pay taxes. People they didn't work hard to earn it. So they see it as a gift. They're just happy for what they got. And when dead people don't vote, it's easy for Congress to say, let's lower the estate tax exclusion, because guess what? That tax rate, once you go over that, is near 50% for a lot of people. So when it was like $1 million, anything over $1 million was taxed at near 50%. It's like you had a $2 million estate, you were paying $500,000 in taxes. You had a $5 million estate, you were paying $2 million in taxes after you died. This is an area that's going to happen. And Dan, you make the point of life insurance, and that is a key element to solving a lot of those taxes. But what a lot of people don't remember or don't know is that your IRA goes through your estate, and guess what? It's income taxable to your kids, and it's something they have to take out over 10 years. And that's another burden you have to deal with when you're dealing with all of these different moving parts. And a lot of people forget, I've got my IRA, and that's an income taxable event for my kids too. So life insurance is a big role in a lot of solving these estate issues and making value where it seemingly looks like it's going to be a difficult one.
You've been listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Great show with you guys here today, doing the CYA, cover your assets here. And with that, be successful in your investing. We cannot wait to hear from you. Cannot wait to be back here with you again next week.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through Osaic Wealth Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of Osaic Wealth Incorporated. Osaic Wealth Incorporated and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.
Well, bye.